Hey friends! Now that we're warmed up, let's start to draw some shapes. This is another one of those basic steps that often gets overlooked when we want to improve our drawings. And I know what you might be thinking. Aw, shapes, no, let's draw something more exciting. The thing is that everything we want to draw can be broken down into basic shapes. And it's very important before you get to level 2 of this course that you are able to draw whichever shape you want and feel comfortable about it. Shapes are important because they're the building blocks that we will use to draw anything we want. That's why it's crucial to practice and master our shapes. And just to get something clear here, when I say master, I don't mean that you're able to draw a perfect circle in one simple go. I mean that you feel comfortable drawing a circle. For me, it's not important that the shapes are perfect, but it is important that they are intentional. I want to see quick and loose movements from my hand, and I want to feel comfortable enough to draw any shape I want without hesitating or criticizing it. That's why it's important to draw as many shapes as we possibly can. When I started drawing, I remember my hand moving really slowly for every single line, trying to make sure that I make the unachievable perfect circle. And I was never able to do so. Plus, my drawings looked stiff and uncertain. It wasn't after I learned these tips to draw shapes that I started to feel more certain when drawing. And I could see my improvement. Every circle I drew was better than my last. I want you to remove the pressure from these shapes to be perfect. After all, this is not technical drawing. This is art, and art is messy. Let's start with circles and ovals. Usually what happens is that we want to draw the perfect circle in one simple go. So we grab the pencil really hard and move very slowly to make that happen. But that's not very realistic. I found that the best way to draw any shape you want is with loose, quick movements. So I'll start to make a circular motion using my whole arm, and lightly make marks on the screen or paper. I'm applying very little pressure, and the more certain I feel, the more pressure I put on the screen. You can try using different grips of your pencil and find what's more comfortable for you. The only thing that's important is that you do quick movements using your whole arm, and that you apply soft pressure on the screen. I want you to notice that these circles are not perfect at all. After all, they're the first circles that I've drawn today. And it's okay for them to not be perfect. I don't stop to think of them as good, bad, silly, or sparkly. I just continue to draw circles, almost without stopping my hand. And the more circles I draw, the better and better they'll be. I also want you to notice that when I draw circles, I don't use only my wrists, but my whole arm. When you draw only with your wrists, your movements are very constrained. Using your whole arm might feel a bit uncomfortable at first, but the more you practice, the easier it'll become. Learning to draw this way will help you on level 2 when we get to drawing rhythm. It's important that you let loose and draw shapes without thinking about them being perfect. The same applies to ovals. Again, I'll start with very soft marks, and I'll press my pencil harder the more comfortable I feel with my shape. Remember to involve your whole arm and not only your wrists. What I want you to achieve in this video is to get rid of the uncertainty when drawing anything. This uncertainty is the biggest enemy of your drawings. It interferes with the flow of your drawing and it makes it look a bit stiff. By learning to control your whole arm to make marks, instead of only your wrist, you add so much more flow and rhythm to your drawings. Now, let's move on to squares and rectangles. And just as with the previous shapes, start with light lines. Once you feel more certain, darken the lines. When drawing squares of rectangles, I usually make lines that go past the corners. I feel it gives me more freedom than to think exactly where the corners of my shapes are from the beginning. And just as with the circles and the ovals, let go of the expectations of these shapes being perfect. And just move your hand to create a bunch of them. The more you make, the easier they'll be. In level 2, you'll be using shapes to deconstruct the subjects that you want to draw. They'll be an important part of building up your sketches, because these shapes will become the structure of your drawings. So it's important that you draw many shapes and that you feel comfortable with them not being perfect. They're only there to help you capture an idea, not to be the most perfect shape ever made. Like I said before, it's all about moving your arm, making lines, exploring, and having fun. And this applies to any shape. Let's say a triangle. I'll start with light, soft lines and darken them as I go. Don't focus on it being the perfect shape. Just draw a bunch of them. The more you make, the easier they'll be. Now, it's your turn. The homework for this video is to fill as many layers as you can with shapes. I recommend 2 to 3 layers per shape, or even more. Remember, it takes lots of practice to build up your muscle memory and improve your drawing skills. This is why when I was at this step on my drawing journey, I filled as many layers as I could with just shapes. I remember thinking this is a bit boring, but it really helped me a lot. It helped me feel more comfortable with my drawings, allowing myself to be messy and not care about the outcome of my drawing session. I remember before drawing this ton of shapes, I would not even want to draw anything on my sketchbook, because I felt that if I messed up, I would ruin it. I was just staring at these white pages and they were staring back at me from their self-induced art block abyss. Learning to draw shapes like this freed me up from that. And of course, it did take me some time to learn to just sit, draw, and enjoy the process, instead of criticizing my drawing skills even before I made any sort of mark on the paper. But these were my first steps to creative freedom. And now it's even easier on my iPad. There are no sketchbooks to ruin, and every drawing does not need to be perfect. What matters the most is that you enjoy the process of making art and improving your art. I remember when I first learned to draw shapes like this, I would play my favorite music and fill pages and pages with one simple shape. I only stopped when I felt comfortable with that particular shape and then moved on to the next one. I suggest you do the same and fill as many layers as possible with just shapes. Make sure to share the number of pages you filled with shapes in the Design Cuts community hub or in social media. Let's inspire one another to draw as many shapes as we can. And once you're satisfied with your shapes, we'll see each other in the next video.